I need to tell you about my old job at Riverside Care Facility because I keep seeing the hiring ads pop up on Indeed, and I don't want anyone else making the same mistake I did. The pay seemed great for overnight work, $18 an hour to basically sit at a desk and do rounds every couple hours. I mean, I was 3 months behind on rent, and my car was making this grinding noise I couldn't afford to fix, so yeah, I took the job. Didn't even finish reading the employee handbook before my first shift. The place wasn't what I expected. I'd driven past it a million times on Route 9 without really noticing it. One of those low brick buildings from the 70s with narrow windows and a parking lot that always looked half empty. It was technically a long-term care facility, which I guess is the polite way of saying it's where families put relatives they can't handle anymore. The day manager, Linda, was this tired-looking woman in her 50s who did my orientation in about 20 minutes. She walked me through the building, showed me where the break room was, explained the computer system for logging rounds. "Most of our residents sleep through the night," she said, handing me a laminated badge. "You'll do checks every 2 hours. Just look in, make sure they're breathing, mark it in the system. Easy." "What if someone needs help?" I asked. "They have call buttons. If someone presses one, you respond. Otherwise, you let them sleep." She paused at the nurse's station on the 3rd floor. "There's only one room you need to worry about." That's when she told me about room 304. The rules were printed on a yellow index card, taped to the wall behind the desk. Linda made me read them out loud. 1. Check room 304 at 11 p.m., 1 a.m., 3 a.m., and 5 a.m. No other times. 2. Do not open the door if you hear knocking from inside. 3. If the hallway smells like copper, skip that round entirely. "That's it?" I said. "What's wrong with the person in there?" Linda looked at me like I'd asked something stupid. "Just follow the rules. The last guy didn't, and he quit after 4 days, didn't even give notice." She left before I could ask anything else. It was 11:30 p.m. on a Tuesday, and I was alone in a building with 43 residents I'd never met. The fluorescent lights hummed. Somewhere down the hall, a TV was playing too loud. You know that feeling when you start a new job and everything seems slightly off? Like everyone knows something you don't? That's how the first few hours felt. I did my rounds at 11 p.m., walking through the hallways with my flashlight even though the lights were on. Most rooms had the doors cracked open and I could see people sleeping. Old men and women, some of them hooked up to oxygen, most just lying there in the dark. I marked each check in the computer. Room 301, room 302, room 303. Room 304's door was closed. I knocked quietly, just a little tap, then opened it. The room was cold. I mean, noticeably colder than the hallway. And empty. The bed was made. No one in it. I checked my paperwork. Room 304 was definitely supposed to be occupied. Resident name, M. Valdez. Age, 68. Admitted, September 2019. But there was no one there. I closed the door, marked the check, and went back to the nurse's station. Maybe they moved M. Valdez and forgot to update the system. Maybe the room was being cleaned. I scrolled through my phone for a while, answered a call button from room 118, just an old woman who couldn't find her remote, did another round at 1 a.m. Room 304 was still empty. At 3 a.m., I was getting tired. You know that weird exhaustion that hits around 3 in the morning when you're not used to night shifts? Everything feels slightly unreal. I'd been watching YouTube videos at the desk and I almost missed the time. 3:04 a.m. when I checked my phone. Shit, I was supposed to check room 304 at 3 a.m. exactly. I grabbed my flashlight and headed down the hallway. That's when I heard it. Knocking. 3 soft taps coming from inside room 304. I stopped walking. The hallway was completely silent except for the hum of the fluorescent lights and someone snoring in room 309. 3 more taps. Deliberate. Patient. I stood outside the door and stared at that yellow index card in my mind. Do not open the door if you hear knocking from inside. But here's the thing. There was no one in that room. I'd checked twice. The knocking had to be pipes or something. Old building, weird noises. I mean, that made sense, right? 3 more knocks. "Hello?" I said quietly. No answer. I should have walked away. I should have gone back to the desk and waited until 5 a.m. for my next check. But I was tired, and it was my 3rd night, and I was still thinking like a normal person working a normal job. If someone was in there and they needed help, I had to check. That's what you do. I opened the door. The room was freezing. My breath came out in clouds. And the bed wasn't empty anymore. Someone was lying in it, completely still, covered up to the chin with a white blanket. I could see the shape of a body, the slight rise and fall of breathing. "Mr. Valdez?" I said. My voice came out weird, too loud in the cold air. "Are you okay? Did you need something?" The figure didn't move, didn't respond. I stepped closer, my flashlight pointed to the floor because I didn't want to shine it right in someone's face. The room smelled wrong. Not like copper, like the card said, but like something else. Something organic and old, like meat left in a refrigerator too long. "Sir?" I reached out to touch the shoulder. The blanket moved. Not like someone shifting in sleep. It moved like something underneath was repositioning itself, adjusting. I pulled my hand back. The shape under the blanket wasn't right. The proportions were wrong. Too long in some places, too angular in others. I took a step back toward the door. That's when I saw the wrist. It was sticking out from under the blanket, resting on top of the covers. A human wrist, but the skin was gray, mottled, and the nails were black and way too long. As I watched, the fingers flexed slowly, like someone stretching after a long sleep. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear it. I backed into the hallway and closed the door very carefully, not trying to make any sound. The knocking started immediately. 3 taps, pause, 3 taps, pause, 3 taps. I walked back to the nurse's station, forcing myself not to run. My hands were shaking when I logged the check. 3:08 p.m., room 304, resident responsive. I stared at those words on the screen. Responsive. Jesus Christ. The knocking continued for the next hour. I could hear it all the way down the hall, even sitting at the desk. Steady, patient, never stopping. 3 taps, pause, 3 taps. At 4 a.m., it stopped. The silence was worse. I called the emergency number Linda had given me, the one for urgent issues only. It rang 6 times before going to voicemail. I hung up and checked my phone. No signal. That didn't make sense. I'd had full bars all night. At 4:30 a.m., the smell started. Copper, sharp and metallic like blood, spreading down the hallway from the direction of room 304. Rule number 3. If the hallway smells like copper, skip that round entirely. I wasn't supposed to check the room at 5 a.m. I knew that. I sat at the desk and watched the clock on the computer tick closer to 5 a.m., and the smell got stronger and stronger, and I kept thinking about that gray hand with the black nails, the way it had flexed. 4:59 a.m. The smell was so strong I could taste it. 4:59 a.m. Something scraped in the hallway, long and slow, like furniture being dragged across linoleum. 5 a.m. The door to room 304 opened. I couldn't see it from where I was sitting, but I heard it, the specific click of the latch, the soft squeak of the hinges, and then footsteps, slow, uneven, coming down the hallway towards the nurse's station. I did the only thing I could think of. I turned off the desk lamp and crawled under the desk. I know how that sounds. I know, but you weren't there. You didn't hear those footsteps, the wet, dragging sound between each step. It walked past the nurse's station. I saw its feet through the gap under the desk, bare, gray, the toenails black and thick like claws. It was wearing a hospital gown that only came down to his knees, and I could see his legs, the skin hanging loose in some places, tight in others, like it didn't fit right. It stopped in front of the desk. I held my breath. I tried not to move, not to blink, not to exist. After what felt like an hour, it walked away, back down the hallway. I heard the door to room 304 close. I stayed under that desk until my shift ended at 7 a.m. When Linda came in, she found me there, still curled up, phone in my hand with 911 typed but not sent. "You checked room 304 at 3, she said. It wasn't a question. I nodded. "And you opened the door." I nodded. She sighed, looking more disappointed than surprised. "Everyone does. First time working graveyard shift, they always think the rules are just, I don't know, superstition or something." She helped me up, and I realized my legs had fallen asleep. "Mr. Valdez died in that room in 2019. Heart attack. But he died at 3:04 a.m., and he was knocking on the door for help. No one came. No one heard him." "But I saw. There was something in the bed." "I know what you saw." Linda started her morning checks on the computer, not looking at me. "Every night, 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., if you look in that room, something's in there. We don't know what. Management doesn't care as long as no one gets hurt. The rules keep everyone safe, but you have to follow them." "Why is the room still in use?" I asked. "Why don't you just lock it?" She gave me this look like I was missing something obvious. "It is in use. We bill Medicare for M. Valdez every month, full-time residential care. The money keeps the facility open." I quit that day. Didn't even fill out the paperwork, just left my badge on the desk and walked out. They mailed me a check for 3 nights of work. I never cashed it. But here's the thing that still bothers me. Last week, I was visiting my grandmother at a different facility across town. I was walking past the nurse's station when I saw it, a yellow index card taped to the wall. 3 rules for room 512. I didn't read them. I didn't ask. I just left. Whatever you do, if you take a night shift at a care facility and they give you rules about a specific room, don't break them. Don't try to be helpful. Don't try to understand. Just follow the rules and get out as soon as you can find something else. And if you drive past Riverside Care Facility on Route 9, keep driving. They're always hiring for graveyard shift. There's a reason for that.